Can you toss me another beer? I implied as Sam reached for the cooler. Gotcha bro, he affirmed, lobbing an ice-cold Coors in my direction. I cracked it open and took a swig. Guns N' Roses blared through my cheap speaker, drowning the silence in a steady onslaught of 80s rock. This is the life, man, Sam proclaimed, bobbing his head in tune with the music. Is it though? Is it really? We've been out of high school for 4 years now, we have shitty dead-end jobs, no college degree, and the only socializing we do is with each other, I ranted, coming off a little more hostile than intended. Beats drinking alone. Yeah, you have a point. But don't you ever get tired of just sitting here listening to the same old songs every weekend? When was the last time we actually got out and did something? I mean, we went and picked up a pizza last week. That counts, right? Sam quipped, clearly amused with himself. No, that doesn't fucking count, dude. I want to do something exciting, you know. Something that really gets the blood flowing, I asserted, pumping a fist in the air to drive home my point. Honestly, I thought this conversation would come up again. So, I came prepared this time, Sam grinned, dragging his backpack onto his lap. He produced a sleek wooden board from his bag. I immediately recognized it. A Ouija board. No. We are not screwing around with a Ouija board. Nothing good ever comes from that shit. Sounds like someone's a bitch, Sam taunted, crushing his empty beer can and chucking it at my head. No, I just don't want some creepy fucking demon thing following me around for the rest of my life. Well, suit yourself, but if you're not gonna join me, I'll just use it alone. I sighed. I knew that tone. When Sam set his mind on something, he was going to follow through with it, whether I was along for the ride or not, and if I wasn't, I'd end up looking like the bad guy. Ugh, fine, 5 minutes, that's it. Woo, I knew you'd come around. Yeah, let's just get this over with. Okay, here's the rules, Sam stated matter-of-factly. Don't take your hand off the planchette for any reason, don't ask super personal questions, and never, I repeat never end the game without saying goodbye. Got it? Yeah, got it, I confirmed, glancing anxiously at the candles haphazardly scattered around my basement. Put your hand on the planchette. Alright, now what? Do we just start asking questions? Yeah, I guess, Sam shrugged. Are there any ghosts here? I sheepishly called out. The planchette remained motionless. Are there any spirits here with us tonight? Sam probed to no avail. It's not working, man. I told you this was a dumb idea, I chastised, earning me a disapproving scowl. Hold on, I've got something we can try. Sam reached into his back pocket with his free hand and pulled out a small book. I didn't recognize the language printed on the cover. What is that? Don't tell me it's another one of your little creepy cult idols or something. 1, those aren't cult idols. They're talismans to ward off evil spirits. And 2, this is a spell book of sorts. It's supposed to attract entities. Come on dude, a spell book. We're definitely getting possessed. We aren't getting possessed. Let me just read a few incantations and if nothing happens, we can stop playing. Deal. Fine. But I swear, if some dark force starts haunting me, I'm going to fucking kill you, I threatened, swiping my index finger across my throat. Yeah, fine, whatever, he murmured as he thumbed through pages. Sam finally paused when he reached the page he was searching for. His eyes connected with mine, and a glimmer of excitement flashed through them as he began to read. Sam rattled off several passages of unintelligible jargon before placing the book on the ground beside him. Alright, let's try it again, he motioned as a wide smile inched across his face. Okay, is there anyone here with us? I inquired meekly, silently praying we wouldn't receive a response. This time, the planchette leapt into motion, flying across the board and stationing itself atop a word. Yes, my head began to swim and my vision grew blurry. This couldn't be real. Sam had to be moving the planchette. Right. Sam, this isn't funny. I know you moved it, I accused, sweat forming at the top of my brow. I promise I didn't. My incantation must have worked. Ask it something else, Sam eagerly demanded. What's your name? The planchette again began to glide around the board until it formed a name. Payman. I could have sworn the air grew colder as a chill wormed its way up my spine. The candles flickered and a deep sense of unease settled in my gut. Sam resumed questioning it. How old are you? Don't know. When did you die? I didn't. Were you human? No. Are you a demon? Yes. I wanted so badly for the game to end. My brain was caught in a vicious match of tug-of-war. My morbid curiosity hungered to know more about the entity while fear begged me to put an end to the madness. Ultimately, my nerves won out. Sam, I don't want to play anymore. You got what you wanted. Ugh, you're such a baby. 1 or 2 more questions, then we can stop. 1 more question, then I'm done. Okay, 1 more. What do you want with us? The planchette crept across the board nauseatingly slowly. So's. A shiver rippled through my entire body. Nope, that's it, we're done, I insisted, shoving the planchette over the goodbye to end the game. It felt as if a veil was lifted as the tension in the surrounding atmosphere dissipated. I turned to Sam. All the color had drained from his face, and he stared at me wide-eyed. I could tell he didn't expect things to escalate like that. We are never touching this thing again, he squeaked. Agreed. Sam left soon after, and I hit the hay the second he slipped out the door. Our encounter with the occult had left me mentally exhausted. Sleep had no trouble finding me, and I snoozed soundly, until I awoke with a start in the middle of the night. I bolted upright in bed, body drenched in a cold sweat. My eyes darted around the pitch-black room. It was too dark to see. I still have a tough time trying to describe the feeling, but it was like I could just sense a presence. I fumbled blindly for my bedside lamp switch. I fully expected the strange sensation to fade as dim yellow light bathed the room in a soft glow. But it didn't. I whipped my head to the right. I let out a deafening, soul-shattering scream as fear flooded through me. Just outside the perimeter of light stood a man. His clothing was well-tailored but looked far outdated. He wore a faded brown jacket, a gold pocket watch dangling from within. His legs were adorned with matching slacks, and his feet donned sleek black dress shoes. A light tweed flat cap shielded his eyes. The man didn't so much as flinch at my sudden outburst. "Who the hell are you? Get out of my fucking house." I timidly shrieked, brandishing an empty beer bottle as a makeshift weapon. The man remained silent, and then he looked up at me, revealing his face. Despite how well-dressed he was, the man's face was completely butchered. The left side was engulfed in a dark purple bruise. A nasty gash appeared to have eviscerated his left eye. Deep lacerations enveloped his entire face. The right corner of his mouth was slit, revealing shattered broken teeth. He glowered at me menacingly. I'd never witnessed such an expression of pure loathing hatred. I froze. I suddenly wished I was invisible. That horrid glare was enough to send the Incredible Hulk running for the hills. The man began to take a step toward me. That was enough to release me from my stupor. I scooped up my phone and darted out of my house, slamming the door behind me. I instantly called the cops, and they said they'd send a squad car out immediately. It was only then that I realized I was standing out on my front lawn in nothing but my tidy whities. After 10 agonizing minutes of freezing in the November cold, the cops finally arrived. They did a quick sweep of the property and returned empty-handed. "Son, are you certain you saw someone in your home?" A beefy cop asked me, suspicion seeping into his words. "Yes, I'm sure. He was standing over my damn bed, for fuck's sake." "Sir, we need you to calm down. Now, have you taken drugs recently?" "How about alcohol?" his twiggy partner questioned. "No, I haven't done any drugs lately," I seethed, purposely failing to mention the 7 beers I'd downed a few hours prior. "Look, just let me show you where he was. Maybe you can pull some fingerprints or something." The pair shot each other an annoyed glance before frustratedly following me inside. I led them to my room, and when I rounded the corner I stopped dead in my tracks, causing the skinny officer to bump into me. "All right, let's keep it moving," he uttered. I pointed a shaking finger at the man who was standing stock still in the corner of my room. His hateful expression hadn't faltered, instantly sending waves of fear pulsating through my body. "He's right there. Don't you see him?" I shouted, bewildered at the officer's lack of emotion. "Son, if this is some kind of prank, we'll have you detained for falsifying a police report," the muscular officer snapped, clearly nettled by my revelation. "No, this isn't a prank, I swear. There's a man standing right there," I reiterated, jabbing a finger toward my unwelcome guest. "Okay, we're going to be leaving now. We'll let you off with a warning this time, but if you prank call us again, we will have you arrested," his partner promised. They turned and marched to the door, leaving me standing in the doorway to my room bemused and slack-jawed at their accusation. "Fucking tweaker, man," one of them muttered as they slammed the door so hard that it rattled my framed photographs hanging on the wall. All the while, the man hadn't moved a muscle. I could feel his spiteful gaze burning a hole in my chest. "Okay, fuck this. I gotta get out of here," I whispered under my breath. I methodically picked up my discarded clothes from the day before, never taking my eyes off the man for a second. I didn't want to risk him lunging toward me if I let my guard down. I began to slip on my shoes when his face suddenly contorted into a demented smile. That evil sadistic grin still runs rampant through my nightmares. His ruined face lit up like someone had just told him the funniest knock-knock joke in the world, and he started laughing. His dry cackling grew louder and louder, crescendoing in a deafening roar of twisted amusement. I snatched my keys from the nightstand and sprinted out of my house faster than an Olympic athlete. I tossed my clothes in the passenger seat, not bothering to put them on as I peeled out of my driveway. I flew down desolate streets, checking my rearview mirror every half second until I reached the Walmart parking lot. Hey, don't judge. I was terrified and had nowhere else to go. I reconciled on sleeping there for the night in lieu of the town's dank motel. I spent hours attempting to quell the fear and anxiety surging through my veins, and somehow I managed to drift into a fitful slumber. I was woken abruptly by a knock on my window. I winced as sunlight flooded into my sleep-addled eyes, temporarily blinding me. I instinctively rolled down the window and was met with a disheveled man wearing dirty, tattered clothing, sporting an impressively long, gristly gray beard. "Spare some change," he rasped, extending a meaty palm. "Dude, I'm sleeping in a Walmart parking lot in my fucking boxers. Do I look like I have any extra money lying around?" Didn't have to be so rude about it. I felt a twinge of guilt for snapping at him as he trundled away. That tiny bit of remorse was quickly substituted for full-blown panic when I saw her. About 50 yards away stood a woman. She was drenched head to toe in blood and her appendages were bent at weird angles. Her arms were twisted outward and extended forward like she was ready to embrace me in a mortifying hug. Her knees buckled inward, barely supporting her emaciated body. And that face. Her features were mangled and distorted. Her nose had been pulverized into a fleshy stump, and her face was caved in, lower jaw hanging on by a thread. Through all the blood and viscera, she bore that same loathing expression as the man from my room, one that chilled me to my core and left me rooted to my seat. I watched helplessly as she began to awkwardly shuffle toward my vehicle. She was mere feet away from me when I finally regained mobility, and I didn't stick around to find out what she wanted. I slammed the car into drive and floored it out of there. I continued driving in a daze. Thankfully, the streets were far more populated than the night before, granting me a sliver of solace. I knew I had to get to the bottom of this. I called Sam. He picked up on my third try. "Sam, what the fuck did you get us into? I'm seeing freaking dead people everywhere. What kind of curse did you put on us?" I furiously screamed, a cocktail of emotions overwhelming me. "Listen man, I know you're pissed and probably scared as shit. Just meet me at my house and I'll explain everything." It sounded like he hadn't slept all night. "You've got a lot of explaining to do," I raged, hanging up on him. I headed to Sam's place, gripping the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I noticed at least half a dozen mutilated corpses interspersed on the side of the road along the way. Their dark, lifeless eyes only intensified the impending sense of doom that had flooded over me. Car crash victims, I quickly realized. I had no idea my town had so many. After 10 excruciating minutes, I finally arrived at Sam's house. I stormed up to his doorstep and hammered on his front door. "Sam, let me in, you dumbass," I cried into the cream-colored wood. "Just a second." He fiddled with the lock and cracked open the door. I shoved my way past him and burst into his living room. "I don't know what the fuck you did, but you better fix." The words caught in my throat when I spun around to face him. "Whoa dude, you look like shit," I muttered ruefully. Sam had clearly been struggling with our recent malediction. His hair was a tangled, unkempt rat's nest of greasy brown lotches. His eyes were bloodshot, like he hadn't slept in some time, donning deep purple bags underneath. Sullen defeat was written across his countenance. Yeah, I know I look like I just crawled out of a sewer drain, but that's not the point. Oh yeah, well, what is the point if you'd be so kind as to fill me in? I fumed, roiled at his lack of an explanation. You remember that spell book I used? I frowned. Yeah, what about it? Well, it turns out one of those incantations I recited may have caused us to be able to see dead people. I told you it was a bad idea, I hissed, glaring at him intensely. I know, I've been up all night trying to figure out a way to reverse it. Obviously, I haven't had any luck. It shouldn't be too hard. Let's just look up how to undo the effects in that creepy-ass book of yours. Yeah, well, here's the thing about that book. I got it from some old hippie lady and she said it's one of a kind and what? I'm listening. What he said next filled my soul with dread. And I thought it would break the spell, so I burned it. Thank you to my superfans, Sweet Black Swan, Tacy, and Brooklyn. I really appreciate you guys supporting my channel, and I look forward to making more content for everyone.